Hi everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and today we are obviously in the kitchen. I have an entire refrigerator full of pickling cucumbers, greenhouse cucumbers, zucchini, yellow squash, patty pan, yard-long beans, probably forgetting something. Anyway, my goal this afternoon is to turn some of these fresh, easily spoilable items into things that we can enjoy for months to come. So my first recipe is actually going to be a recipe that I've been making for probably, I don't know, 25 years or more. We're going to call it Priscilla's bread and butter pickles. And it is actually my mother-in-law's recipe. And I have a well-used, slightly dirty, from use, card here in her handwriting. And I'm going to get started. Now, the basic principle is you take a bunch of cucumbers, you salt them along with some onions, toss them into a bowl, and you cover it with water. Now, traditionally, it was just stood overnight. Because we're in a much hotter climate and there's no cool place to set it overnight, all we're going to do is stick some ice in it and let it sit for about an hour and a half, and then I find that works just as well without the risk of spoilage. Now, we grew these cucumbers in our garden. They're called National Pickling. I think we got our seeds from Haas Tools. I did not let them get as big as they can get because I prefer smaller seeds in my cucumbers. So, yep. What I'm going to actually do is I have two choices. I could put them in here to start with. I'm going to actually put them in another container, and I'll tell you why. This ancient Pyrex container holds a quart. And the reason I'm going to use it is because the recipe uses the quart measure as a means of telling how many cucumbers to put in. Most of the new recipes that I see online will tell you in pounds rather than volume. But since this recipe works, I'm not going to fiddle with it. I suppose I could figure it out. Maybe someday I will. These cucumbers are being sliced about 1/8 of an inch thick. I don't know if I said that or not. Other than that, they're clean. I'm watching for any blemishes. Like here, there's just a little spot where the cucumber had been scuffed. It's not a bug or anything. It was just from rubbing against the trellis. So it creates kind of a little hard skin in that spot. And I just trimmed that off because I want the slices to be nice.
A few moments later.
Cucumbers, onions. These are onions from the garden. I'm not sure which kind these are, because I actually had two varieties. But I want to make sure that I definitely get that outside skin peeled off. So one of the things I hate most if I'm eating something is to hit some tough, never quite rehydrated onion skin in my food. Nasty. I would rather throw away an extra layer than risk getting some really yucky onion in there. Especially when I'm making the effort to make something cool from scratch like this that can last literally for months, if not years. All right, there we go, nice and clean. That would probably drive Henry crazy, but that's okay. It's a clean apron. Because these were sort of rescue onions, I'm checking through them carefully to make sure that there's no inner leaf that might be preserved in here that's a little bit dry, that's not going to rehydrate correctly or something like that. And I'm getting a little sort of a funky leaf in the middle there that I just took out because I don't like the way it looks. I know why it's there because I just read an article on it this morning. Onions are what they call monocots. And there it is. That center one leaf thing that they have going. I want them nice and thin so that they're going to blend in here nicely. Thought I had a paper. Well, I thought I brought. Must not have. These are work towels. So they're clean. Sometimes they're stained because they've been used for all kinds of cleanup. But there's nothing wrong with them. They're just not pretty. But we use them for wiping countertops. In this case, a nice clean one is good because it is hot today. I am definitely sweating. But you reach a point where it's hot and you need to get things done and you just decide to do them. What is with this today? Nope. I'm not going to risk that one either. Well, that just goes to show you when you have rescue onions, sometimes they're not completely rescuable. Those looked fine and they weren't squishy at all. But when you get inside them, they're a little funkadelic, and I'm just not going to risk using any of this kind of stuff or try and clean it up. If this was a survival situation where it was use that or not have any, I would think about it and I would sniff it and I would taste it. But it's not. I have plenty more. And I'll use this one instead because there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, well, that's what an onion's supposed to look like. I am going to take out this one little section because it looks a little tougher. And this will make you cry. I'm not sure whether this is a candy or whether it's an immature. Can't think of the name of the onion. I'll have to look it up. Either way, they're both yummy, sweet onions. There we go. That's good. Perfect. All right, let's clean this up. In case you're wondering where I go over here, is I have a compost bin that lives on the counter for just such emergencies. And all the scraps go in here and they will go out to the compost. But because this has a lid on it, it avoids that bowl in the corner with moths and flies and yuck, all that kind of stuff. Not in my kitchen. Excellent. Now we have cucumbers, we have onions. I have about half of what this recipe was originally intended to make. So I am only going to use half of the salt. Now there is a limit to how much you can cut down a recipe, but in this case I've done this before and it worked just fine. So I need a 1/4 cup of salt. I'm going to cover it with water and throw some ice in it. I am using kosher salt for this because it does not have iodine or anything else in it. I was trying to get pickling salt, but I haven't seen any for sale lately. And kosher salt is the same essentially thing. It contains no weird junk. So it's just evaporated sea salt that is prepared according to kosher rules. So we always like to say no cooties. I don't recommend using flavored salts, like some people tout using pink Himalayan salt or something like that. This is for preserving. The point of the salt is to provide the preservation, or in this case to draw out moisture and be part of the preservation process. So I don't want to be adding anything funkadelic to it. And to be honest, kosher salt is a lot cheaper than pink Himalayan salt is. So I see no reason to waste fancy salts. Okay. Ice. I'm going to cover this conveniently with a dinner plate that doesn't fit. Okay, last time I used a different. That's funny. I obviously had a different bowl last time. Let's see, what do I have that will fit that? Close enough for government work. Okay. I wouldn't put a dinner plate in like that because I'd have a heck of a time getting it out. But this has got a convenient handle. It's not actually down on the cucumbers and stuff. And this is going to sit here now for an hour and a half. And while it's sitting there, I'm going to, where'd my phone go? I need to set my alarm for an hour and a half. I use my phone a lot because it's simple. My good timer died. My current timer is okay. I need to replace it. There we go, an hour and a half. Now, while we're waiting for that to happen, and I'm going to go ahead and make, this is just water on here. I'm going to make what they call the syrup that is going to be used for making this. So, sugar, vinegar, mustard seeds, celery seeds, and turmeric powder. I'm going to use a larger pan. I'd rather use a larger pan than wind up short on pan space, because then you make a mess. Okay, so I will put the recipe in the show notes. We always make sure that we use cane sugar because very large majority of beet sugar is GMO, and we try to avoid GMO in all of our cooking. Sugar, vinegar. What I need to do is recopy this recipe. Mustard seed. Ooh. We may be almost out of celery seed. That's not good. I'll need to check that. We use celery seed a lot when we make coleslaw. Turmeric powder. And that's it. Now we're going to wait for an hour and a half, and I'll see you then.